Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and we are back in Empire Divided. This is going to be a siege of Medhlan, so this is pretty sweet. I very much like this city. It has 3 tiers and a back path that you can bring in. One of the most kind of asymmetric and staggered defense cities that you'll see around. In case artillery bombardments are coming in, let's put this on slow motion real quick just so we can get the laydown. So it's going to be 2 Roman armies coming in, plus so 2, I guess, Central Roman armies, and then a 3rd Gallic Roman force. Lots of legionaries abound, but one of our allies seemed to be new to the battle, and he decided to bring a bunch of Roman giant ballista. One is going to be positioned there. I actually have one of my own, but he has a whole bunch of them. Let's see, one here. Yeah, so he has 3 up through the front, and then he has another one over here. So these are going to be pounding down the gates. So we're going to try and blast open here. Looks like he's going to try and target the tower, but most of the shots are going to miss, doing a little bit of damage here with 22%, and we'll see how things go. In any case, he has a ton of cavalry. Roman legionary cav, I guess, hoping to bust through that rear gate. Let's put this on play, and good God, the scenery looks absolutely beautiful here. So yeah, we're going to gear up for an assault on the wall, hoping to bash forward with this giant ballista to knock out some of the defenses. I have some of my Herculeani, we have some spear warriors, and some hidden archers. In the back path as well, we have even more guys. I have a single unit of armored archers, and then also a Praetorian Guard unit with a tower. No real reason for it, besides I just wanted a tower to plant my flag in the back. I can't really do anything, but I figured, you know, it's going to be a while before anything happens in the back here, so I just wanted a little bit of psychological damage to be done. On this front, I was focusing here, pulling up with my units, but the enemy was doing a really good defense. They are actually micromanaging this catapult here, going into first person, and doing a really good job of sniping my artillery. I did place it a little bit carelessly too close, but because it was fixed artillery, what I figured I could do was storm the walls, shut down any artillery, and I needed this to be close enough to the point where I could at least provide covering fire. But it's a race here. So just as I realized that the enemy is focusing fire on my giant ballista, I'm going to at least try and put damage on the wall, but the shots are inaccurate. And my guys are incoming. Archer units are going to come in here and take a look at this. They're going to try and fire at this unit here, but somehow all of those shots missing there. Impenetrable defenses, I guess, provided by this catapult, which is unfortunate. Now he's going to turn about and fire right into my ranks of troops. So whoever's manning this is doing a really good job getting lots of rapid fire, and he's going to end up taking out all of my artillery before he can do any damage. So that's a lot of money sunk on absolutely nothing. So anyways, we're now at the walls. Take a look at this staggered defense. Stone beds to slow us down on either side, and they're prepping to kind of the strategy that they'll be playing here is just to delay us at each of the towers, let the towers do as much damage, and then just pull back without investing too many men. Up through the front here, they are willing me to come in because he has 4 Hamian archers, very strong units, plus a Roman scorpion, so throwing myself into this would be pretty suicidal. And now we can see as I pull up more units in the back. So I'm going to try and seize this beachhead, use the arrow tower and the cover to allow me to get a little bit of an advantage, and then allow my units, or my allies over here, to pour forward. Looks like they're going to be doing just that. Gallic warriors coming in. Some artillery firing on our own guys, so really not being that helpful here. Some of the ballistas looks like they were deployed facing sideways, so not quite sure what he's doing with these. Yeah, pretty much a waste. He's going to shoot into a gatehouse that we're already assaulting anyways, so that's going to be a problem. But what's taking place over here is, while we weren't looking, and I wasn't even watching this in battle, is there was a huge outpouring of Balearic slingers, tons of guys coming in, lots of infantry. What ends up happening is they wanted to shut down our artillery, and I wasn't quite watching this, so my Herculeani here, I kind of pulled them out of the action, but they need to be thrown back into the fight to try and quell this, but I just don't have the numbers, and our ally here throws himself full force with the cavalry into this blob. It would have been better for him to go around the flank, and had he been able to do that, he could have gobbled up all of these guys, pinned the legions in the front, and then allow my Herculeani to do their damage. He should also be reprioritizing these giant ballista into these clusters of slingers, so a lot of potential value lost here. My guys, meanwhile, are sensing the direction that the winds are blowing, and they're going to pull back into the woods, into the cover here, because, yeah, this cavalry has been lost, and there, finally, he's going to do the move around the flank, but it's too little too late. this supporting fire should really be coming in here to help out. I did pull one of my Herculeani on either flank to dissuade an advance, so it's going to cover this giant ballista for the time being. My archer is also going to be firing into the rear here, but they have a lot of armor. So there you go, cavalry in the mix, but you'll notice that a lot of these, oh no, I thought these were Hemian archers. These are all slingers. So yeah, we do break one, but the cavalry all goes down in a flurry of pillar volleys, and there you have it. That was like 3 cavalry units slaughtered, and our potential to push forward here absolutely destroyed. You know, these guys are continuing to fire, so we've bought time for them, but still, you know, 35% damage. He needs to focus on something, gatehouse or the towers. So that's a pretty big loss on that front. Over here, looks like we're up at the walls, which is great. Supporting fire coming in. The artillery really needs to focus in on some of these, large clusters. So here come the shots, raining in. A couple of the volleys hitting. Let's get some nice cinematics of this. Assassinated's not having any of this. Again, our opponent's going to be committing to this idea of just delayed action, which is something that when myself and Indie Pride play, we try to do a lot, and that is going to be to just do a staggered defense. And I really prefer those sieges as opposed to everyone up at the walls for the entire time. So there you go. You can see they're sacrificing a couple mortal spears. Those guys key because they can hold out for a very long time. We're pouring in with a lot of units to try and bust through the front, but with support of a couple Kurdish archers firing into our blobs, they're going to be doing real well. But as they lose ground, they're just merely going to pull back. And yeah, these archers, a couple volleys coming in to take some small clusters, but that's only 3 men, and each of those volleys is another volley that's wasted that could be used to bust open some infantry clusters. So again, like I said, our ally on that front was perhaps a little bit new, wasn't that great. Actually surprised to see Scorpion units. I didn't know you could do this, move them all the way up onto the wall. So it looks like he's going to be trying to get some fire at my unit's position here. Like I said, I wasn't quite ready to commit them up to the center, so they're just going to start to take some preliminary damage, but that's fine. These are Roman levies, so I'm not too worried about them taking the heat. Meanwhile, over here, the first engagement on my flank is underway. I've committed some units. We have neutralized the tower, which is absolutely excellent. And here come my guys charging into the flank. And what I'm going to be doing is trying to use this little bit of building as cover, because what we got here is a tower is there, and I peeked around the corner and they have a lot of units holding behind the stone beds. And especially the scary thing for me is these archer clusters. Hemian archers are super good, super powerful, and they can tear through your units. So that's why I'm engaging in the woods there. Let's get some shots. Yeah, so our opponent's going to be doing a very active defense. I was actually really impressed with the way they were fighting this out. Really well thought out and meticulous. So we saw those archers disappear, and now they're going to start to reappear. Big clusters in the center. They have spotted my legionnaires who are trying to take cover behind the tree. Most of those shots are going to miss, but a couple are going to come in and start landing. So I have to be careful here. I may pull them up a little bit closer to the shack to take cover. On this front, I actually have some of my own gladiators who are thinking of getting in the mix, but with these archers for friendly cover, they could tear through these gladiators. So I'm going to try and save them. Meanwhile, these armored archers are going to peel off to the side, try and get some flanking shots into these units, and turn the tide a little bit. So armored swordsmen being committed, and I have 2 units, going to try and get a little bit of a flank off on them, but more units are streaming in, so things are not looking super good for me here. But the toehold has been established, and I'm trading relatively decently. The only thing that I have to be worried about is going to be these archer clusters, and you have to, keep an eye on this. He notices that he doesn't have a good shot on either of my guys, and decides to save his ammo for the most part. A couple more volleys coming in as he's trying to retrain and find a new target. My archers are coming in, and so that's who he's going to be targeting. I did want to pull them in to have some more suppressive fire, and they're going to be shooting into his Hemians, but those guys are going to seek cover. So just as my guys are disembarking here, slowly, they're going to take a lot of fire. So already having lost 5 men, I need to pull them into cover, but he's going to be quick on his control and turn about. And this is such a clutch position here. They can just, lob over little archer volleys into the flank, absolutely cover his guys. Actually, it looks like he's going to try and target, I believe, my archers over here. Yeah, they're starting to take some fire. Couple volleys of return fire, although most of that being shot at these guys. It's going to be blocked by a couple trees. So we'll see how that goes. It is evening the odds a little bit, and here come my guys. Finally, the archers on deck with 9 losses, and they're going to regroup over here, try and fire, or at least trade with those Hamians. Meanwhile, the defenses are buttoning up here, but as we bust through the center with 2 full armies, we're going to pour in through here. Enemy does the retreat to the 2nd level with most of their guys intact, almost no damage done to the archers, and they're going to hold that front. And then we're going to pour forward. This is going to put pressure on this position, so just as I see them evacuating, that's going to be the cue for me to come back in, which is great. And hopefully we can try and cut them off before they all make their getaway, but it looks like the enemy's planning this out very well. Meanwhile, what happened over here is I pulled some archers up on top to try and fire into the flank of his cohorts. He turned their flank against me, shields up, and in shield wall, so very well planned on that front. And then my archers, you know, all of a sudden, once he shielded up, some chariots busted out of the gate and came charging after my archers. Luckily, they do have spears. You can see them tucking them away. And so now I'm going to go in pursuit of that chariot general. He's eager to see me dead, so I do run after to try and seek the cover of my Herculeani, and luckily that saves my guys, but they did take quite the beating here. Lost 45 men. I'm going to continue to fire away at these armored chariots. So the nice thing is here, I've kind of hemmed them in where there's no more escape, and so I have a general in my clutches. He is going to be seeking to do an escape through the back, but this is where I have a single archer unit. Knowing that the enemy probably wants to beat a retreat, I'm going to come in with these armored archers and seal their fate. This siege tower also is going to be rolled into position in the path to try and block them. We'll see how that fares against chariots. Alright, so we're taking the center, and now the city is eerily quiet as we move up, and all of these, you know, this investment in all these units did absolutely, you know, 17 kills there, 4 kills, and 3 kills. So that is a ton of wasted denarii that would have been better used on just storming the front with more infantry, heavier infantry. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's the advantage of the defense in depth there. So kudos to our opponents. But that is also attackers' advantage. We have more numbers, so we have a little bit more money to waste. But these towers, always in every game, you'll notice that they do tons of damage. So you have to be very careful. Opponent's doing a good job of allowing them to do all the killing here. My armored archers that had been pulled up got shredded by the Hamians. They tried to stand here and fire against them, but I don't know what was going on. Perhaps I didn't have line of sight, whereas they did. Something was going on where they just got absolutely murdered. It could be a stat differential on the Hamians. I haven't quite checked that yet. Let's go ahead and check that here. Missile damage 40 as compared to... No, same 40. Same range. Shots per minute 6. 6. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the difference here is. Yeah, it looks to be about the same. It was probably just the fact that he had way more. And I think he pulled in additional fire to get my guys suppressed. So that worked really well. But it does mean with the pressure we have on here, my guys are left to their own devices. Armored legionnaires against 2 armored swordsmen. I will lose this fight, but what I can do now that the cover has been kind of removed from them in the archer department is I can pull up with my gladiators. As well as some of the archers coming back cheering. So there is still some hope left on this flank. Meanwhile, my guys are going to be pulling up the levies. The towers are on fire, but that's okay. We'll make our way up. And then I also have some more elite infantry. I've been doing a fairly good job of trying to keep my elite reserves untouched. So a couple units there, a couple more in the back, Avocati. So yeah, I've been using mostly my medium tier infantry in the front ranks. So, you know, both can play at this cautious game here. So it looks like the chariots have pulled all the way across. I actually thought that this tower would block them from charging through, but they managed to actually clip my guys and I got off, having lost a fair amount of guys, 30 men to those chariots. So they have 74 kills, so their name really good. But the enemy has kind of had a little bit of a microlapse, allowing them to get tied down, and my guys can take them out here. So there we go, we take them out. He has spotted my archers, but in the woods here, they will get good cover. I do have heavy shot popped as well. Here comes another volley of the ambush against this chariot. A couple more horses winning as they go down, and just as he touches base with me, my guy's going to swap over to the spears, so this is a nice pickup for us. Slaughter of the general. And there you go. Killed a couple of them, so that was pretty sweet. So there you go. We're going to get a pickup. I'm going to continue to fire after him, hoping to snipe the general. I'm not quite sure if we did do that. No, I believe this is the general. So we'll see if the volleys, if the parting volleys can get through. But I think in the woods there, yeah, a couple of them going over his head, it's going to be a little hard. But a fleeing general is almost just as good. So we'll take it where we can. And then now I have a free archer unit that I can pull up through the back to have some suppressing fire. Same thing with these armored archers. They can go up and start to put some pressure on this position. Okay, in the center, our guys are seizing the middle ground. And we also have 2 Roman Scorpion units with actually a fair amount of kills on them. Surprised to have seen that from so far away. But now they're going to be pulled up, and this is very good. You always want to bring Scorpions, or it's recommended that you bring Scorpions because they are excellent gate busters here. Anytime your opponent's going to form up in dense positions like this, yep, even from this extreme range, you can put on a world of hurt to anyone trying to hold choke points. So I find them to be cost effective. Same thing on the defense. They're actually really useful as well. If these guys had a Scorpion position here, it could take out our guys in the staging position. So there we go, pulling over. Our ally is mass transiting across here, which is a little bit dubious in terms of tactics, because take a look at this. All the Kurdish archers have positioned themselves up on the hill, having retreated, and now you can see masses of volleys coming in. And they're going to rain in on these Roman legions on their unarmored sides, sniping them. This is going to hit a lot of our archer units that we need alive to trade. And so here it comes, darkening the sky. Lots of damage being dealt here with no real benefit. I'm not quite sure why he's pulling his units over here. Completely unsupported. And oh my god, look how many guys just went down there. So there you go. He lost half his archer corps. Would have been much better to just hold them up here and concentrate fire to bust open that gate in conjunction with the Scorpion unit. That would have been a much better trade. But unfortunately, and look at this, they could have just backed up and gone the safe way instead. So that's really too bad. These guys forming up in square, but that's fine. Our opponent's realizing that's not the main target. They want to go after the soft targets there. Over here, my ally did come in, got one of his units thrashed, a long sword cohort, but I did pull up with my deteriorated archers to help secure this. But our opponents, again, being super cagey and cautious every time we even have an inkling of an advantage. A tower, they pull out. Oh my god. So they are min-maxing this fight for sure. So there they go, pulling back behind the Draco of Palmyra. That's okay. I've got my gladiators, got my other units. We've secured this position. Gonna start to pull in with my other reserves here soon. And again, he seems to be transitioning, but look who's, you know, following them on the high ground. Whole bunch of these archers, and yep, even more Hamians on standby. So this is a ton of firepower, all here to shut down our guys. If we get even within range, these are gonna destroy us, especially if we're facing forward. See what ends up happening. Looks like he's amping them up, and one of these units I believe is going to get in range here. They're turning their flank. Let's see if the enemy decides to use some of their limited ammo here. I would. Yep, there you go, a couple volleys coming in, and here he goes, unleashing. This is really punishing. I'm not quite sure why he's doing these double takes on either side, just losing so many men unnecessarily in the transit. Archers have been pulled over, but decimated at this point. And I hope he doesn't pull through with his general in plain sight, because he'll take a lot of losses. But here goes. He's going to try and bust through the center. This is a position where I would say we should play the waiting game. We had Scorpions that were just firing, getting free kills. No need to throw ourselves until we've used all our ammo. Meanwhile, over here, I am tempted to move up. I think I had considered that most of the enemy had drawn out of the fight, and so I'm going to try and push up, get some units on the walls. I have units coming into support, so I think it's a good time to strike. But take a look at what our opponents have done. They've completely trapped up this side, so too bad they didn't do the flaming balls, but this is perhaps the equivalent of that in terms of damage. So there he goes. Again, our ally proving that he is new. He's just pulling up to this choke point and standing here in full sight of the towers. That's not going to be good. Taking unnecessary damage. And take a look at this. The enemy doing everything, you know, textbook defense strategy here. Getting around the flanks, waiting in position, and this is really ominous. Yeah, so that once the battle is engaged, they're going to get a perfect pincer. They even have a whole bunch of slingers that are moving up in position. And these guys, yep, forming up to get a nice flanking shot once this blob gets engaged. This is really deadly. But men are going to have to amp themselves up because a battle is incoming for sure. Our scorpions are in close support, so okay. Alright, the enemy forced up into blobs, getting us some nice kills. He's going to target the next one over, so perhaps, you know, we can play this waiting game. But no, here comes the charge. And let's watch this. Here it comes, up through the center, the enemy taking the pillow like a champ. And yeah, this is actually a perfect opportunity for those slingers. They have just the angle to get over their own ranks and hit this, so with the fire support of the towers over top, we should be able to neutralize it maybe, but this is going to be a lot of damage potentially incoming. Let's see if they're firing. Not quite yet. Oh no, why did he pull up with the cavalry? Don't pull up with your cavalry. Ooh, that's bad. Archers pivoting about, smelling blood in the water. Is not good. Yep, they're all focusing around. Scorpions in the back doing everything they can to suppress, but here they come. Here comes the slaughter. And it actually looks like they may be out of ammo charging into the fight as it is to try and tie down our guys. Pretty good move just to wear us out. Meanwhile, over here, what I decided to do was push forward with my units, but all of a sudden I noticed that there was a ton of guys. My opponent here is again finding time to micromanage the onager. So our opponents must have been on team chat or something, or being active in the comms, because they're responding to everything in kind very well. So that onager here, focusing fire on the ladder, trying to take it out, and focusing fire on my Herculeani. I suffered a lot of damage with these guys. It was weird. I pulled up with the ladder here, tried to disembark on the far side, but no one was climbing up. I gave a movement order and they just moved back. So I got a little glitchy, which is one of the annoying and painful things in Siege when it's, you know, razor thin margins sometimes. I lost, you know, half my unit or 60 men. But anyways, I pulled back. A nice thing about this position, though, is the fact that, hey, we can stream in reinforcements and we've got a fair amount of the units pinned in the back. So my ally here commits one of the longsword units, who has a bonus versus infantry, so you should be able to chop these cohorts up. In addition, keep an eye on this, I have 2 archer units in close support on the high ground. So what they've been doing is they're going to be lobbing a couple extra volleys in here into the back of these guys, just to help turn the tide more evenly. Yep, there you can see a couple arrows going to be coming in, and that's just fired into the back, going to be extremely cost optimal. Here comes another volley into the back of these guys, so doing everything we can to even up the odds. And this is how we're going to digest this force here, piecemeal, one by one. So already these guys being dealt a lot of damage by the longsword cohort, and my support back here, 21 kills and 22 kills. And now we're going to choose our next target to be these cohorts. 93 men, let's keep an eye on that, as a lot of HP damage is done and the archer volleys continue to come in. A couple scattered shots here and there, but over time it will do the trick. Down to 75 men, so this is, yeah, wow. Damage is being dealt for sure. Yeah, so this is super cost effective, a 1-2 punch, so the enemy getting a taste of their own medicine, and now sensing that the time is perhaps right to charge in. I'm going to try again to move over here. I'm going to get back on the ladder, and then these guys are going to try and bust open the gate. So the time is right to pincer these guys in. Up through the center, the fight continues as the blobbing is underway here. Hamian archers who have used all their ammo are going to charge in with their spears. And like I said, tire our guys out. Punching through the center, we've had a hard time. Legions against legions. It's actually going to go the way of the enemy. A lot of that due to the close support of the Kurdish archers firing into the backs. I mean, take a look at this. They have an entire rear rank of units exposed. They can fire a whistling shot, everything to take our guys down. Yeah, this is really bad. But we do have a lot more men in close support here that we can pour into the fight. So a lot of the attention is being put here. So I'm considering perhaps punching forward here. But at the same time, I know just what kind of a killing ground this can be. 2 towers on either flank, plus a veteran Palmyrean Legion in Testudo formation. There's no way for me to break that. And these guys actually look really dope with the spears pointed forward like that. And they're going to move up with a Scorpion, figuring that I'm not really paying attention, which at the this particular instance I'm not. I didn't really notice that. So it's going to start to get some volleys against my key Evocati, and somehow these guys took a shot and are still left standing. Not quite sure how that works. Yeah, I'm just gonna notice this. I actually don't know how many volleys I take before I notice it, but I know I don't lose too many men. Yeah, I'm gonna pull them out of the side. But this is a little tricky move while the action is underway elsewhere to pull that in. Nice little pickup for them, and I can't really charge this. I might want to bring in some archers, but if I get close, these Hemians are gonna tear me up, and they have superior cover. So not much I can do to bust this front. All I can really do is you know, try and help reinforce this push. It looks like, you know, despite the heavy losses, the enemy is going to start to waver somewhat. Meanwhile, over here, we're continuing to digest these forces. Lots of pressure being put on by my archers. I'm going to fire into the back of these cohorts because I know where they're going. They want to come back and either hit the back of our units or once again retreat, and we're going to do everything we can to prevent that. My guys are going to be trying to bust down the wall here, getting up over the top to neutralize these towers. I've taken so much damage that I just need to get over here. And they may kill our guys, actually. We'll see. Yeah, we just have to hold, keep these guys in place long enough for the archers to do their damage, for my elite units to do their damage, and come into the back. And I actually pulled in my general, Ekute Scutari. They had been in the back kind of cleaning up some camel archers who had gone after our artillery. Yeah, and so this general unit might be able to be, you know, pulled in here to clip these guys as they try and retreat. There we go. Herculeani here, the weakened one with 96 men, but they are still excellent units and they'll be able to trade. Let's watch as they charge into these cohorts here. Enemy gets the first pillar volley, but I return in kind and we'll just shred that guy. So I start with, I only lost one man in that charge. Let's watch as these cohorts melt. Yep. 93 men, so I lost a couple more men on the charge. But these guys are going to be melting pretty soon, and I'll have a fresh unit of cohorts in the back that I can target. Marchers up here, we're considering circling about, but then I'm going to pull them back in, knowing that, you know, the enemy is not going to retreat anymore. They're probably going to want to engage against my infantry. Oh, no, take that back. Looks like they are going to retreat, so I know that I have to catch them. The gates are still burning down, finally at 100 damage, so I'm going to come in pursuit, charging into the back of these guys, grabbing them by their cloaks and trying to pull them back as they continue to try and retreat. Not necessarily dishonorable, but I wish the enemy would stop kind of min-maxing all of this, or sorry, optimizing all of this and just play. It's getting a little bit annoying. But anyways, I do have some cavalry to punish this sort of a retreat. Trade is continuing to happen. Hamians are now filling the gap, so once skirmishers are in the mix, that means that they're at their wits' end, so hopefully we can come in and punch through that. Meanwhile, over here, I did pull my units off to the flank. Evocati cohort did take some archer fire as I made the crossing, but yeah, actually way more damage than I would have thought. A fair amount of that from the Scorpion, and then as I was repositioning from the archers who opportunistically moved to the edge and shot at me, but the rest, Evocati here pulling out of range or out of line of fire of the Scorpion. I have to be really careful. The enemy is really good about sneaking up on me here. But I still have a fair amount of gladiators and whatnot, so I'm still just, you know, a threatened being. And then I have another Evocati and another armored archer unit that I can pull up and see where we can apply pressure. I've got units here staging, just as these enemy were trying to perhaps escape. Well, it's going to be an opportunity for me and my ally here to cut them off. So we've sent in one of our Gallic Imperial Guard units, 34 kills, raking it up, doing so much damage against these cohorts who are winded. Meanwhile, I'm threatening in the back with the Ekute Scutari, but I don't know what these slingers are going to do. If they go ahead and put themselves up on the wall just as I get close, and I believe this is a trap, then they could shred him. So I'm being a little bit careful here, keeping an eye on these guys. Yeah, and he's threatening a move, not quite sure what he wants to do. Yeah, there he goes. He's going up to the gate. But as I zoomed in on them, it looked like they were actually repositioning to fire into the flanks of our guys. So that was the cue for me to get a nice little strike here. Again, it's not absolutely necessary. We probably would have won this fight anyways, but it is going to help turn the tide and mitigate our losses in this exchange. So there you go, cleaning it up, allowing for a fair trade. And I'm going to throw my guys into the center here. Hit these Hamian archers, just the immortals left standing. And this is a big cluster of guys that if we can punch through, maybe even sneak my general in, we can get that. But the enemy, knowing that that's a threat, are going to pull over with their depleted Gallic legionaries to cut that off. So very, very smart plays on our opponent's side. And over here, finally bust through this gate with a lot of damage being dealt here. Crazy stuff. Archers in close support have been absolutely clutch, though. Where are they? One with 49, one with 78. So good supporting cover. And here come Herculeani, Praetorians. Yeah, some elite guys. Still pretty good strength that can come and bust through. A little bloody themselves, but should do the trick to force entry. And here, once again, our opponents deciding not to stick it out for a fight, and they're going to go ahead and all-out retreat. Myself and my ally, noticing that this is what they want to do, are going to try and pull through. But the enemy has some, Gallic legionaries held in reserve just to be able to keep those guys, to body check our guys, keep them back, and allow the units to continue to just pull through and retreat. So that's really problematic for us. That's a lot of people we'd like to kill. So I'm going to pour in with my Roman levies and other cheap units, just try and get numbers through here, squeeze through the gaps, but they're throwing their other depleted Kurdish archers to save their more valuable slingers at this point, who I am presuming have tons of ammo. So a nice coordinated defense, and yeah, not much to say on this matter. It looks like they may even be trying to have another defense here, get a couple more volleys off before retreating, trying to get their angles, I suppose, up on this hill. And yeah, some more Hamians out of ammo, but not out of the fight, coming in. Actually not quite sure where they're going. Yeah, just charging our guys to, I guess, to suppress them. So doing a pretty good job. I mean, our guys are killing, but it's against expendable units at this point. Here comes the Herculeani to try and finally crack the Immoral Spear Guard here. Let's actually get a little bit of close-ups on this. Very nice combat. And yeah. Okay, good. Just a couple slingers have line of sight. If it was more than that, it could be pretty devastating. But the enemy's going to crack here, so we can start to pull through and chase after these guys. But they do have a bit of a concave that they can get in on us. Okay, it's about to crash, and I figure, hey, the enemy has almost everything defending here. What if I go ahead and sneak something through the back? Oh, actually, it looks like the slingers did want to prevent that. Yeah, you can see a couple of them moving forward, trying to shoot my guys. They did a fair amount of damage, but this is Roman levies. Not too worried about them. Actually, they're taking continuous fire. There must be some archer unit here I can't see. Yeah, not entirely sure. But anyways, the thought process behind this is they have so many numbers over here that if I can sneak something through the back, yes, there's a lot of traps, but if I can sneak something through the back and seize this tower, this will be a nice little beachhead to at least draw away pressure from the front. And presumably, if I can capture this, then I can start to funnel more and more men into the back. So here comes the chase of these slingers. I've cut them a little bit out in the open here with one of my units. So they're making a beeline for the third level of Minas Tirith here. I'm coming after them, not willing to give them any quarter. But the enemy is close in my own pursuit. So most of the Balearics do slip past, plus some of the enemy spears. And yeah, there you have it. Pulling back to the third level of defense. I'm going to try and commit some guys, but as I pull through, arrow tower going to do tons of damage, and then there's no beating these guys, so yikes. Best I can do is try and sit by this tower and perhaps capture it, but I'm going to get shot to death. So this unit is unfortunately a Praetorian Guard unit that is going to get shredded. Meanwhile, they still have a lot of infantry over here, and I've tried to commit up through the center with Avocati, Gladiators, but these guys here just doing so much to hold out. And with the twin towers, this is like one of the most powerful positions. Anytime you get two towers and the ability to hold a choke point, I mean, it's going to do so much damage. They fire so quickly, they can kill almost anything. So yeah, my guys are going to get absolutely destroyed. And even if I can bust through this, he has, a couple units that he can just feed in to hold it out longer and longer. I do have a little bit of support, more units in the back, some Avocati that I can try and pull in. But not much I can do. The more I throw in here, the more fodder to the towers. So this is pretty bad. I do have a Herculeani unit that pulled into kind of the middle here. And what I'm going to try and do is disrupt the back here, charge into it, and try and relieve pressure. But they have an entire armored swordsman unit already prepared for that. So here he comes, getting ready for the charge. I'm gonna, oh, he's not even, yeah, he knows, yeah, our opponent's continuing to be very cautious in this engagement. They know, hey, I don't need to charge. I have a tower here. So they're, yeah, doing everything they can to get the most efficient trades. Even dropping the artillery, that's a nice little move that you don't see people micro too much about. So this Palmyrean guy, definitely in it for the win. Popping abilities, getting his guys going, doing a cavalry charge into the Gallic Imperial Bodyguard, seeing them off. Yeah, we've contested the front here, neutralized this a little bit. And over on this flank, as my guys tried to pull through the Roman levies, oops, looks like Immortal Spear Guard are there to defend. And here was that hidden unit of Kurdish archers. I do have some of my own armored archers who are trying to trade these guys. These armored archers are out of ammo, and they're just here to actually be pit fillers. What I mean by that is there's a bunch of traps here. These guys are the Penal Legion. Gotta come in here and check for traps. Yep, so they're finding them slowly but surely and clearing them out. Just trying to clear out the terrain in order to allow some of my Avocati cohorts to come in here and deal with these Mortal Spear Guard. But again, you know, in a fair trade, open ground, I should be able to take these guys, but close support of archers and a tower. Not quite sure how that's going to go. Plus, the delaying effect of these stakes. Yeah, it's going to make it that much, you know, longer of a process to crack an already hard to crack unit. Meanwhile, my Kurdish archers over here trading against Kurdish archers. No, actually, no, I'm focusing fire on the general here, figuring I could pick up a nice little, you know, morale victory there. Doesn't seem like it's going to be the case. Meanwhile, this flank, fighting continues, but making no progress against these legions. Down to half strength, but here come the reinforcements. Even the Imperial Cataphracts coming in. We can fast forward at this point as things are being a bit slow and one-sided in a lot of places. So the enemy bottling up, holding this position. Not much I can do to push forward. I still have one unit that I'm holding in the back, but this is very much secured for our opponents. We do have a little bit up here, holding it out with the Gallic Imperial Guard with 296 kills, very impressive. And we have a couple remaining units, but just not many heavy infantry guys. The enemy are going to throw away their fodder units, silencing our scorpions. And yeah, just trading really, really well. Meanwhile, in the back here, I've poured forward with my Avocati cohorts, 54 kills, but they've taken almost that many in losses. And yeah, we're trying to throw in gladiators and everything, but it's not going to crack this. And meanwhile, even if we did, 2 more full units are going to come into the back. So it seems like things are pretty much over here, but we'll see how much damage we can do. And it looks like our opponents, again, even though they seem to have the advantage here heavily in their favor, they're not going to let it go. They're going to once again pull back to the top level and optimize everything. So that's, I don't know, you can't really fault them too much for playing a smart game, but at some point you just got to get it over with. They have the advantage, they might as well just charge everything in. I don't really like this slow and steady approach. Yes, it's fun, it's cinematic, but this is a bit overkill here. My general coming in, doing some opportunistic strikes. He's raked up 105 kills, which is pretty good for a general. And with the tower support, we're actually able to have a nice little steadfast position. Actually 3 towers that can fight anything that comes after us. So our opponent's not willing to take even that much in losses, and they're just going to button up the defenses and hold slingers in the front as well to absorb anything. I'm pretty sure even these guys are out of ammo. They're just here to beat tar pits. So, yikes. We're going to mass our guys. I do have my Equite Scutari here to try and help perhaps punch through something, but they still have stakes and immortals. So not much that can be done. I'm going to charge up through the center. Try and take out these Balearics, but once again, our opponent's being very, very good with the deployment. I would have gone with Flaming Balls just because they're more fun, but these guys, thinking it very strategically, they've put a bunch of stone beds, a bunch of stakes, all of this just to slow down our guys at the absolute optimal killing field. So yeah, this is textbook siege defense. Alright, let's go ahead and fast forward this as the enemy holds out to the end. Armored archers are going to be seen off. And I still have some cavalry. Not quite sure what I can do with them. I'm just going to be posturing, and then here we go. Let's at least watch this. The final charge into the enemy lines. Glorious as ever. And that horse, I don't know if you saw it, but it's running with a pillow sticking out of its, a javelin actually getting across its entire body. Not quite sure how he's left standing, but if he can survive this fight. Oh, looks like the splinter got pushed out of his body. So there he goes. I was gonna say, if he can survive this fight, he is gonna go on to have some very strong offspring, because taking a stick through the throat like that, that's representative of good genetics. Alright, and that's it for my unit there. Going down, the enemy general here, just watching. I was hoping we'd get a little bit of a general duel, but nope. He charges in at the very end, which is emblematic of this entire fight, pretty much. So that's it for the battle. Sorry if I was a little bit whiny at certain points of time, but I do get a little ticked off by people who, yeah, it's a game at the end of the day, and if they're treating it like a job like that, ooh. Doesn't make it very fun. So let's take a look at some of the final stats. Our ally here, Shanqueru, the one who we saw invested heavily in archers and artillery that did almost nothing. He got very low kills, which ended up kind of enfeebling us pretty heavily in the fight. We could have used that extra manpower, especially there at the end. Not quite sure what the motivation was behind the cavalry as well. That was a lot of money sunk into units that just charged into infantry and got slaughtered. So advice to him would be, if you don't quite know what you're doing in sieges, you can't go wrong with just a bunch of infantry. And at most one fixed artillery piece. This almost always going to be overkill. Second player here, the MVP, with 2,300 kills, lots and lots of damage, and as you can see, he's doing sieges right. He's got almost all types of sword infantry. Gallic Imperial Guard with 406, super impressive. So yeah, if actually all of us had brought nothing but melee infantry, we probably could have just bum rushed through everything. And even his Scorpions, this was a really good play. Like I pointed out in the battle, sniping out units and choke points, that would have been much better for us. And especially the fact that they have extreme range, can outrange archers, and that's a good choke point buster. I'll have to try and bring these more consistently. But yeah, 172, 137, they can even arc over defenses and pick apart guys across the battlefield. So this player here definitely picking up the slack of our first ally. Myself did okay, wouldn't say the best. I had a couple units here that got absolutely destroyed before they could do anything. So this Roman Giant Ballista, focus fired by the enemy defensive artillery. Again, I deployed it too close, and I tried to suppress the enemy artillery before it killed him off with archers, but apparently those guys are invulnerable, and so you have to rush them with swords, which I did, but it took too long. The rest trading pretty well, somehow with the levies with 174 and 46, pretty good, mostly on cleanup duty on exhausted Hamians. The rest doing okay, but okay is what we needed. We just needed more quantity. Some of my own archers doing decent. These guys were the ones in close support on top of the hills. Probably in retrospect should have deployed a lot more up there. The guys who were deployed in close support on the low ground just didn't do too much and mostly got shredded by the defensive units. Let's look at Young Maestro here. 1,400 kills, pretty good stuff. A lot of it from the Hamians and a lot of it from the Armored Swordsmen, although I wish there was a tower kill count, because that probably got, I don't know, 500 men at least, if not more. That was doing most of the killing for them, which is, if you're going to play sieges advantageously, that's how you do it. And yet, this player as well, also going for all swords, lots of cheap units to just cover the ground and tie us down, and then a ton of Balearic Slingers. These guys have good armor piercing. If you can get them in the right position, can do a lot of damage, as you can see here. So yeah, Greenlight doing a really good job as well. Hispano here, doing pretty decently actually, although most of the kills was actually from his Kurdish archers, opportunistically sniping our ally. Take those away, and the rest of his forces just didn't trade too well. Not quite sure why he took so many immortal spears, although I guess Persian light infantry and even the Dylamites aren't that great, so I guess the play here was just to hold with the spears and let the towers do the damage. So that's it for this battle. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and let me know what kind of content you'd like to see on Invicta Gaming in the future. I know I'll continue to do Total War content, but I need suggestions for other games that you would like to see. So that's it. Peace out.